Comfort those who have lost loved ones. Bring healing to those who have been stricken with the virus. I pray that you will strengthen our resolve, increase our faith, and keep our hope anchored in you. May you grant us wisdom as we continue to make the best decisions for the greater good of our country, especially during this time of crisis. Lord, please hear and answer our prayers as we continue to trust in your power and be comforted in your love. We ask all these blessings and mercies in the name of our Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Amen. Good evening to all solutions, both here and abroad. On Tuesday, the 9th of February 2021, I'll be heading to Parliament to seek approval for the extension of the state of emergency for a 90-day period. This has become necessary as COVID cases, regrettably, continue to rise. In this, our third wave of the pandemic, we've had over 1,000 cases, most recorded in January alone, with far too many lives lost. The situation is worrying, with many of us continuing to disregard health and safety protocols, though I must commend the vast majority of our people for complying. I know the times are not easy, and it feels unnatural and uncomfortable to wear a mask all the time. But it's much easier to breathe with a mask than to breathe with a ventilator. This is why I continue to call upon you to be resolute and to remain committed in our battle against COVID. The state of emergency will allow the government to implement a curfew, which we implemented between June to September of last year to great success. Neither the curfew nor the state of emergency is meant to restrict you, nor strip you of your civil rights. We must take measures to limit movement and lessen the avenues of contact that drive the virus. Adjustments to the curfew may be made during the 90-day period, and even lifted based on the number of new cases recorded. The state of emergency may also end before the 90 days, once the Ministry of Health is satisfied that the transmission rate is trending downward significantly. As you know, we've been trying to balance lives and livelihoods and to keep most of you employed and our economy operating. If we do not, the consequences will be dire. There are many businesses which did not survive the first lockdown, and sadly, some which will not survive a second. Thousands of you could remain on the breadline. I need not tell you the psychological and emotional trauma this would bring to bear. In making the decisions we have made, we have collaborated with all sectors of the society, private and public, and we believe we have found the right balance. In another 14 days, we shall observe our 42nd anniversary of independence. Independence is traditionally a time of national celebrations, marked by various festivities that highlight several aspects of our culture and reflect the talent and the diversity of our people. This year, our celebrations will be tempered because of the restrictions brought about by COVID-19. But COVID has taken enough from us already, and we are determined that the show will and must go on. We've planned an exciting series of events showing the best of St. Lucia, which you will be proud to participate in, even if it's virtually. Even with the imminent arrival of the vaccine, COVID will be with us for the immediate future. We must not let down our guard when the vaccine comes, because it will take all of us working together, focused on the end goal of a healthy nation to win the war against COVID. St. Lucians have shown time and time again that we are a strong and resilient people. Over the years, We have prevailed against hurricanes, floods, and earthquakes. The one thing that has helped us to succeed in the past has been our ability to come together and work as one people. It can be no different now. So I want us to keep this in the front of our minds. Success and unity go hand in hand. No one alive today has any experience in managing a global pandemic. Anyone alive during the 1918 Spanish flu would have been 2 years old. However, the 4 protocols for reducing the spread of today's virus have changed little since 1918. We all still need to keep our distance, wash our hands, wear our mask, and isolate once we become infected. Luckily for us, though, we now have the advantage of vaccinations to help protect us and break the infection cycle. This time last year, when COVID was spreading globally and the first cases were about to be confirmed in St. Lucia, our first duty as a government was to address the threat to health and life. So with the guidance of our public health officials, who are highly trained and skilled, we did what all sensible governments were doing. We followed the science. I must underline the debt of gratitude that we as St. Lucians owe our public health officers for their professionalism, their commitment to saving lives, and their obligation to duty before self. I know you will join me in thanking them for the unfailing service and absolute devotion to our country and to us all. Our immediate mission, then and still is today, is to care for those who are infected and to limit the spread of the virus. More units have been retrofitted at the respiratory hospital, increasing capacity to more than 120 rooms. We're commissioning 2 more hotels as quarantine and isolation facilities. We're continuing to provide island-wide testing and care and treatment to COVID patients, all costs borne by the government. This has not been easy, especially given the unexpected arrival of COVID and its consequences. COVID has had a catastrophic impact on health and economies globally. The impact on our own economy has been equally devastating, but we've managed. We continue to manage our economy, never defaulting on our loan obligations or our obligations to civil servants or our obligations to you. As a government, we recognized very early on that we would have to strike a safe and careful balance between lives and livelihoods. We know the last 10 months have been rough on many of you. And we've tried fervently to support as many of you as possible through the NIC and other social assistance programs. Many of you have also told us how glad you are that you have been able to remain employed so that you can continue to look after your own families. It was critical that we continued with the infrastructural projects that would keep people employed, and post-COVID, we would give St. Lucia a competitive edge. I am very pleased that as a result of the continuation of the road improvement program and the airport expansion project, thousands of St. Lucians are able to provide for their families. We're also placing emphasis on people-centered projects with the construction of community centers, health centers, drains, footpaths, sports facilities, vendors' parks, just to name a few. All of these projects are to raise the standard of living and quality of life for you. In order to fund the social care programs that so many depend on, the government itself needed to keep earning. Like countries all over the world, we had not budgeted for this unprecedented crisis, but we sprung to action to look after solutions and keep the country as safe as we could. In addition to direct government employment, we encourage businesses to keep people employed by offering them tax credits and other concessions. We provided relief on rent, income tax, and duties to a range of businesses and individuals to stabilize their financial positions. And last but not least, we committed to supporting farmers and fishers by increasing our purchases from government. The $548 million economic recovery and resilience budget that we introduced in the final quarter of last year has benefited and continues to benefit thousands of solutions through public projects and social stabilization incentives. Government is now in the final stages of the 2021-22 budget. I can tell you that we're working on a new stabilization package, such as income support, employment generation, and the continuation of our feeding programs. Your government continues to do all it can to ease the burden of COVID-19 and build a better tomorrow. As we look forward to our 42nd anniversary of independence, while we cannot celebrate in the usual ways, we can certainly reflect on the progress we've made as a nation. We should remember the people on whose shoulders we stand and appreciate their sacrifice. What we must do in their memory, though, is to focus on how we will use this crisis as a catalyst to reposition ourselves and our country. What we do and how we do it is going to be critical going forward. There are some things we will never go back to. That is why it's important to refine and redefine how we work, how we educate our children, how we accommodate visitors, how we feed ourselves, what we produce, how we prepare for climate change, and the myriad of other things relating to everyday life and business. So I ask each and every one of you to think about the way you will live your life the next week, next month, next year. Remember that what you do and how you do it can literally be life-changing for your family, your friends, and even your neighbors. For love of our country and your fellow St. Lucians, please wear your mask, wash your hands, and keep your distance. We all have a responsibility to be our brother's keeper and protector in these peerless and uncertain times. In so doing, we will also protect ourselves and our country, St. Lucia. We are all still well into the pandemic. Although there is every expectation that the rollout of vaccines across the world will slow the spread and allow people back to work, children back to classes, worshipers back to churches, even revelers back to carnival, and for most of us, back to the things that we enjoy as social beings. In the words of our poet, Sir Derek Walcott, and I quote, "The future happens, no matter how much we scream," end of quote. We all have a role to play in what the future will be. Do not waste your chance to make a difference. No matter how large or small to the experience of generations to come. They look back on these days 100 years from now, and I hope, like me, you'd wish them to say that we did a great job as a people. St. Lucia, when all is said and done, what we have collectively is our country and its reputation. To keep
Welcome to the official launch of Independence 42, a resilient nation. We can, we will. I'm Herma Dumark, your host. Join me as I take you on a journey of how we are going to celebrate Independence 42 as we briefly run through the calendar of events. We know Independence is a major calendar event that has grown massively over the years. We also know that COVID-19 has changed the landscape of how we socialize and come together. Despite the challenges of COVID-19, we plan to celebrate loudly, fly our flag high, and celebrate this important milestone as a country. Over the years, the sporting profile of St. Lucia has expanded. We've seen personalities shine regionally and internationally. Darren Sammy in cricket, Julian Alfred in track and field, Makiba Alcid, Laverne Spencer, John Paul in basketball. Sporting activities form a major part of our social fabric, and it represents the pulse that keeps our communities together. This year, join us with an exciting one-on-one discussion, Excellence in Sports, as we highlight St.
Than it is really.
All right, Senator, we want to say thank you very much for tuning in to Sky FM. It is now 23 minutes after the hour of 8 o'clock, and we are going to our program with the Honorable Minister Guy Joseph with the program Inside Castries Southeast. We are also live on GBD TV channel 115 if you would like to view us with our beautiful program. Let's say a special good evening to you, Mr. Minister. How are you doing, sir?
Good evening, Champagne, and good evening to all listeners. It's nice to be here once again. You know, if it's Monday evening, it is inside Castries Southeast, and we are tuning in to an interesting program. Let me first compliment the Prime Minister on his address and the presentation made in terms of where we are and what is happening. I also want to alert the public that I'm looking forward to that sitting of Parliament tomorrow to discuss these bills that are coming before the Parliament. One of them is the extension of the barrel concession, and then you have the issues pertaining to the state of emergency. I will not say much on this tonight, except to say I expect it to be a very interesting sitting tomorrow. So special greetings to all the residents of Castries Southeast. We are in your living rooms, we are in your homes, we are on your telephones, we are wherever you are now in your vehicle on 93.1 or GVD, or for those of our regular listeners, in fact, Champagne, we have quite a following overseas of St. Lucians who follow this program inside Castries Southeast. So I will not venture into mentioning names tonight because we've lost some time in terms of our starting point, because we had to listen to the Prime Minister's address, which came in at 8 p.m., and then to allow time so that people can digest what the Prime Minister said. But tonight, I want to feature a very special group in my constituency. They call themselves Trinity Sisters. They started very young as the Trinity Girls, and now they've graduated because they are more grown. But they are among some of the very talented gospel singers within the constituency of Castries Southeast. I remember one Christmas when we had a carol singing festival in the community of Forest here, and that youth choral from Labby came in to sing. And then we put out a challenge for one of the best tenor voices to come and give us a special note.
Yeah.
And then this young lady, which is one of those in the group, she came and she gave us a special note. And she did get some cash that night to get some pizza or some other stuff. So I am happy to present in their own way, not any professional video of a song or anything, but just a group of young ladies, Trinity Sisters, giving praise and glory to God.
Amen.
And
How many are in the group? About
three. That's why I
okay.
guess they call them
The
Trinity
that's right.
Sisters. Yes.
Okay.
Reading now I love to proclaim it, reading by the blood of the Lamb, reading through his infinite mercy, his child and forever I am. Reading and so happy in Jesus, no language my rapture can tell. I know that the light of his presence with me shall continually dwell. Redeemed, redeemed, redeemed by the blood of the Lamb. La 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 la. Reading now I love to proclaim it, reading by the blood of the Lamb, reading through his infinite mercy, his child and forever I am. Redeemed and so happy in Jesus, no language my rapture can tell. I know that the light of his presence with me shall continually dwell. Redeemed, redeemed, redeemed by the blood of the Lamb. Redeemed, redeemed, his child and forever I am. I think of my blessed Redeemer, I think of him all the day long. I sing for I cannot be silent, his love is the theme of my song. Redeemed, redeemed, redeemed by the blood of the Lamb. Redeemed, redeemed, his child and forever I am. Forever I am, forever I am. I know I shall see in his beauty the King in whose light delights, who lovingly guards every footstep and gives me a song in the night. Redeemed, redeemed, redeemed by the blood of the Lamb. Redeemed, redeemed, his child and forever I am. Redeemed, redeemed, his child and forever I am. Forever I am. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Wow, wow, what beauty, what beauty. Beautiful singing there by the Trinity Sisters.
Oh yes,
The trio.
and that is what I expect to be doing some more of that on the program inside Castries Southeast as we continue to highlight various groups and professionals and those who are just getting a start for themselves. I mean, It is amazing the amount of talented gospel singers that we have in the constituency of Castries
Well,
Southeast.
Mr. Minister, you could tell them they got airplay on Skype.
Nevertheless, I do enjoy very good music. And that is why we are building a recording studio in the community of Wavin Poisson.
Wow.
And we are outfitting it with all the music instruments that are required. So if a band has to play, they have all the instruments right there. And our various artists, not just gospel artists, but all the various singing persons can go in there and get their music recorded right within the recording studio. I must take the opportunity to highlight the PM speech and the fact that this is a government that believes in prayer. And we don't believe in prayer for political reasons. We believe in prayer because we genuinely believe that you are there because God wants you to be there. And that everything we do is dependent upon God.
Amen.
I can tell you, we belong to a cabinet where every minister can lead the cabinet in prayers. Unlike other governments I have known that stop prayers in cabinet, we have a government that believes in prayer. We have, and Champagne, you are a champion in this area on your monthly
Oh, yeah, prayer for the nation.
prayer for the nation.
Yes. Yeah.
And whether we want to accept it or not, prayer plays a very meaningful role in our lives.
Yes, it does.
We believe in something, we must believe we are created that way. You know what is interesting for me? Before I came, when I decided to come into the political arena, I prayed and I said to God, if I cannot do better than those people who are already there representing, then don't let me win. And that is why I am determined to do the best that I can as long as I am elected to represent the people of Castries Southeast. Because this is not an agreement made with man. This is an agreement made with God. And I said to God, look here, I want to win the elections. But if those who are there can do better than me, because my ultimate goal is what is better for St. Lucia. If governments run the country effectively, if they do the right things, if they allow the economy to grow, if they make the right decisions for the country, we can live comfortably. And that is my aim. And I didn't just say that because, you know, we can just say things with our mouths that we do not mean with our hearts. But God knows, and God can read our inner desires and intentions. And that is why God don't judge us always just by what we do, but by our motive for what we do. And I have tried over the years in the political arena never to use the things of God for political gain. But I cannot run away from the fact that this is who I am. That every morning that I wake up, I pray and I ask God for His blessings and His guidance throughout the day. That every decision, for example, on a Monday morning, when we pray at home, my wife and myself, we pray for the cabinet of ministers. We pray for the prime minister. We pray for the parliament. Like as we are going to parliament tomorrow, we would have a special prayer for that parliament session, that things would be done according to God's will. And do I always do what I think is best? Not necessarily. because as human beings, we fail at times. But ultimately, our motive must be positive. Our motive must be what is good. And I'm always thankful for all the people. I call my constituency the Church Belt constituency. Because I don't think the last time we were checking, I think we have close to 30 different congregations.
I believe that.
Within the constituency of Castries Southeast. And we are truly blessed when you have so many people praying at the same time. Not necessarily for a political party, but for the government of the day. And I believe if the Labour Party is in office, that the people should pray for them equally, that we should pray for them. But it's kind of difficult when you have to pray for people who don't believe in prayers and who do not acknowledge prayers themselves. But that is just by way of passing. Tonight, I want to highlight a few issues that I think is critical. And usually we come to the point where we've realized what is before us. And you have to ask yourself, after years in government, what do you have to show? How do you operate as a government? What are the things that you have introduced in government that stands out for you? And I remember when I just came into government and we negotiated with the Taiwanese. Today, everybody, including the Labour Party, they are praising the work that the Taiwanese government is doing in St. Lucia. But remember, the Labour Party was very upset with us for breaking diplomatic, well, we did not break diplomatic relations with the Chinese. We established diplomatic relations with the Taiwanese, and then the Chinese said that they are not going to remain.
Right.
I want St. Lucians to remember what it was like when the Chinese, when we had diplomatic relations with the Chinese. How many jobs did St. Lucians get from the work that was being done through the various Chinese implemented projects in St. Lucia?
Right.
When we established diplomatic relations with the Taiwanese, one of the things that we negotiated, and not just focused on the big capital projects, but we started the small projects. And do you know what the Labour Party called these projects? T-Canal. They call it the T-Canal projects. Now, I am putting that in context so that we understand when the Labour Party speaks about loving the Malawi or being gouvernement Malawi, I want the people of St. Lucia to understand what the term gouvernement Malawi means to them. It means keeping you poor for the rest of your life. Because if that is what they are the government of, and they always want to be in office, then obviously they have to keep you poor.
Yep, means you only governing poor people, because we say gouvernement.
That's so. I am saying this so that I will give some stats tonight, and I want the people of St. Lucia to understand. And anybody who can prove that what I'm saying is not so, when we open the lines, I want to challenge them to call me and highlight that what I am saying is not so. So we look at what they call the T-Canal projects. The T-Canal projects was designed specifically to allow the average person who in their lifetime would never get a job from government, would never know what it is to sign a contract and get a check from the treasury of St. Lucia. We created an opportunity for these people that they never had before. And I am proud of the fact that it is under the United Workers' Party government that the most persons were employed in terms of small projects and contracts issued by the government. Now we call it the CDP, Community Development Project, But a lot of these little contractors who started with CDP have now graduated and are now doing projects with the Ministry of Infrastructure, with the Ministry of Education, and various, maybe the SSDF and different departments of government, because we gave them an opportunity. I remember one major contractor saying to me, you know what? Fellas who used to work for me, now you make them contractors, and I can't even get fellas to work for me. And he's a big contractor. I said to him, so all the contracts are always supposed to be yours.
Yeah.
So you are big, nobody else is supposed to grow.
Yeah.
But that is how the Labour Party operates. So who criticizes the most for the T Canal projects? The St. Lucia Labour Party. Now you, the people of St. Lucia, I want you to ask yourself, if this is a government that is for you, you have more of the average people than you have the big contractors in St. Lucia. Why would they criticize and call what we were doing for you Gouvernement Tika? And I am proud to be part of a government that looks out for the average St. Lucian. What else did we do? We introduced the PPP arrangement, public-private partnership. There was a little bit of that happening, but not to the extent that we have seen it grown during the time. Yes, they did a few projects with NIPRO, but NIPRO was under the Bolt arrangement. But what we introduced and what we propelled forward, because it was already being practiced in other parts of the world, was that with the PPP, where you have the public person, the government coming together with a private sector person and developing a project that is beneficial both to the government and to the individual. So in these PPP arrangements, we have, it's public-private partnership. Who better for the government to partner with than the people of St. Lucia? And this government has the record of giving the most work to contractors in St. Lucia as opposed to foreign contractors. So I saw the Labour Party criticizing a reverend or a priest from a church. I will come to this if time permits me. I don't have time here. You know, that level of disrespect that we see perpetuated by the leadership of the Labour Party and not for once condemned. But that we will deal with. I was talking about the PPP arrangement. We've had the opportunity to develop that program. The direct design, finance, construct projects. They criticize us for it. Yet still, when they came into government, they realized the benefits of it, and they did more direct design, finance, construct projects than we did, that we are now paying the loans for their design, finance, construct projects. But that is how you develop. You give your people the opportunity to develop themselves, to bring the money to the table, to design the project, to implement it, and the government pays them over a period of time. The same things that the Labour Party criticizes us for. Now, a lot of these initiatives was driven under my ministry during the time I served between 2006 and 2011. Now, I want to ask the people of St. Lucia a question. If you give a contract for $500,000, there's a possibility, isn't there a greater possibility that you can get some kickback from somebody who give a $500,000 project, as opposed to somebody who give a $5,000, $10,000 or $20,000 project?
Absolutely.
Because when you give somebody a $10,000 project, if they manage the project very well, they may make about $2,500 profit. And they would have to be very good in managing the project.
Yeah.
So you think somebody who make $2,500, you can go and ask them for something on this? So when they criticize us for cutting up projects into smaller packages, if we were about making bubbles, we would try to make all the projects into big projects. So who is more likely to make the bubble? And that's why I want them to release the Linguist report, because now it is officially in St. Lucia.
It is there?
It is there.
Oh boy.
It is there. I want it to be released so that the people of St. Lucia can see for themselves.
Who has the access of it?
The Attorney
government?
General.
The Attorney General.
The Attorney General.
All
It's
right.
with the Attorney General. So, we have developed the art of sharing the wealth in St. Lucia. That is what you do when you're in government. You create an enabling environment for your people to do well. And one of the ministers that stands out, not just one, but I want to highlight these ministers. You see Minister Bradley Felix, and what he has done in commerce. The leader of the opposition today was Minister of Commerce for maybe two terms. I bet you Minister Bradley has done more for the business community in St. Lucia in 4 years than Philip J. Pierre did in 9 or 10 years as minister. The average St. Lucian who starts a small business tomorrow through the initiatives brought to cabinet by Minister Bradley and his ministry can now benefit from concessions that the big businesses get. Another minister who has done very well in that area is Minister Dominic, and what he has done in the tourism sector and created a level playing field. You know, when the Labour Party was in government, they tell you we are against St. Lucians, but all of their policies show that they are the ones who are against St. Lucians. So they introduce a policy where if you're spending $5 million in a hotel development, you would get incentives up to maybe 25 or 50%, 25%, 50%. If you're spending up to 10 million, you're going to get 50%. But if you're spending 100 million, you will get 100%. Yet all competing in the same environment. Minister Dominic has come in and has created an environment where if you are doing bed and breakfast, you are entitled to the same concessions that Sandals or anybody else will get. So who is more for the ordinary St. Lucian to succeed? It is this UWP government and the policies, because I want people to understand. It's one thing to talk, but it is another thing to go out there and get what is promised and what is actually delivered. I also want so the Labour Party gave only their friends and their big friends. And there was a time in St. Lucia when you would see only one set of trucks in the country, and that was Renault. Now Renault is my friend. Renault has several projects doing as we speak. Projects went out to tender. He won a tender in my constituency, and he has subcontracted the work to other people, and I appreciate that very much. The issue is not Renault. The issue is the government. The government of the day. When the Labour Party was in office, one set of workers benefited from everything and the rest of the contractors got nothing. As we speak today, every contractor, nationwide, Fresh Start, Skelly, CPAL, Mega Construction, James Cobb Construction. You name the contractor, Champagne, every one of them, they have enough work.
Nationwide is there, nationwide, you have C.O. Williams.
C.O. Williams, all of the contractors are working. How is that possible? Because this government believes in equity, in sharing and allowing as many persons as possible to participate in the construction and the work that is being done. The last term in office, we saw that while one contractor got both small and large jobs, under this government, the work is shared. Those who can handle the big contracts get the big contracts. Those who can bring financing to the table, they get the design, finance, construct projects. Those who maybe cannot even prepare a tender, they are issued small projects on the CDP, on the desilting, and on the various projects. And anybody can go. Get a printout from the ministry, from the treasury, and see who has created more jobs for more people in this country. Now, I also want to say here, I heard a contractor brought in a half container of red shirts on the island. I've heard about that. That's just by way of passing. Unless I can come and present my documents, I'm not going to delve further into it. But if that's the case, the contractors are still working. We are not about fighting people because they choose to support one political party as opposed to another party. But if it was the Labour Party in office, it's a different ball game altogether. Now, let's go to what touches the average person. And when I said to you, the SLP want you to remain poor, let's go to the STEP program.
Let's do that.
The STEP program, when the Labour Party copied that program from Trinidad, the short-term employment program, they were paying, in Trinidad, they were paying them 100 TT, which was about 50 EC. In St. Lucia, the Labour Party introduced that program at $20. And I want the people of St. Lucia to remember that was in 2006.
And 6?
2006. No, the program was ongoing.
Okay.
The last phase of the program was implemented by the St. Lucia Labour Party in November of 2006. Remember, the elections was in December of 2006.
That's right.
So they ran the last step program, paying the people $20 a day. You know, when the UWP came into government, how much we were paying the people? $50 a day for the STEP program. Or call it the beauty. I don't mind calling it the STEP program. It's a short-term employment program. We started paying the people $50. We increased the price the Labour Party was paying the poor people of this country by 150%. They were paying $20. We started paying $50. Now, the people of St. Lucia who think that the Labour Party is for them, I want them to dispute what I'm saying there. I want them to call the show tonight and prove that what I'm saying there is not so. When the Labour Party, we lost the elections in 2011. So we ran that program for the entire 5 years at $50. And we used to employ 200, 300, 400, 100. Now, some constituencies would pay up to $1,000 per person. So they would reduce, so they would not do it per day. In my constituency, I do $50 a day for 10 days. In some constituencies, they give you a small job, you can do it in a week, they have a specific price. They would measure the works and determine. The Labour Party came back in 2011. What did they do? You think they were for the poor people? This is what they did. They could not reduce the price because it would look too bad for them to reduce the price. So they reduced the number of days. So instead of the 10 days, which was the minimum we were doing per person, was $500.
Yes.
You know what they did? They brought it down to 7 days, which made it $350. And you had to get a card and go to some ATM or something and collect your
I
money.
remember that, yes.
Okay? And then they reduce the number of persons. So take a constituency like mine, where on average you would employ 300 to 400 people every time we have the STEP program. You know what they brought it down to? 100 persons.
From the 400.
Yes.
Wow.
So ask yourself, and I want the people of my constituency, if what I'm saying there is not so, challenge me on it. I want anybody in any corner of St. Lucia to challenge me on what I'm saying. So when I tell you the Labour Party is against the people of St. Lucia and everything that will benefit the people. So in essence, when we were spending $200,000 in my constituency on a stimulus program, the SLP was spending $35,000.
Wow. What a decline.
From 200,000 to 35,000.
That's
100 people?
Less.
100 people at $350. Go and check it. And you would see. So, UWP
So,
would...
Minister, let me interject there for a minute because I want to...
amount of money.
What I'm trying to say is there were less people, but the same money was there.
No.
Okay.
That is where the Labour Party could not manage the economy, so they could not raise the money that was required.
My goodness.
And they deliberately, well, to an extent, because even before that, they were paying the people $20. So how could a UWP government from 2006 to 2011, even in the midst of a financial crisis, be able to run a stimulus program where they were paying people $50 a day for a minimum of 10 days, and the Labour Party prior to that was only paying people $20 a day, came back in 2011, promised better, promised more jobs, yet reduced the number of people in my constituency from 400 to 100 and reduced the number of days from 10 to 7. Is that the people you want to put in charge of your business in Castries Southeast?
Would you know if that was done only in your constituency?
So 7 days at $50 multiplied by 100 persons, the SLP would spend $35,000. UWP would spend 50 by 10, which is 500 times 400. That is $200,000. So if I did stimulus 3 times for the year, that is $600,000. And sometimes we would do it twice for the year. Wow. So I'd rather go on the lower figure because I don't want nobody to say, oh, you come in and give. So if we did stimulus twice for the year, that is $400,000. If the Labour Party did it 3 times for the year, at the 45,000, it would be 105,000. Yes. Look at the difference. And I want the people of St. Lucia to understand what I'm saying. I'm not speaking a language that you cannot understand. Le Labour Party te un gouvernement, yo ka paye $20 par jour pour travail step. Le flambeau vini, flambeau c'est pour ya pour $50. Les flambeaux perdent l'élection avec les baviants tout. En dit les bas continuer payer pour 10 jours de travail là, $500. Yo tiye 3 jours à souiller et yo menen pour 7 jours. So ça te ka vini $350. Et yo te oni ka employé yon 100 moun. Les moitié là between 2006 pour 2011 nous te ka employé 200 300 de les 400 moun. Depuis moi vi en gouvernement, nous ka payer $50 pour 10 jours et nous aussi ka employé 400 moun. So, mande kon question, qui laisse gouvernement, qui laisse rep qui plie en faveur? Un rep flambeau, et ben un rep liba. Now, moi pas ça faire décision ça bay moun. Ça c'est décision that moun ni pour faire pour koyo. Let's go champagne to desilting.
Yeah.
Okay? Because I wanted to say that the UWP would spend 5.5 times the amount of money that Labour Party was spending on stimulus or STEP. And even with COVID and all of that, we've been able to run our stimulus. When we run stimulus during the December day, I had about 432 people work in my constituency, and each got paid $500.
That's a lot of people. We have to ring the bell on that.
Ça c'est presque moun passe les batek employé en whole pays.
Whole pay, yeah, come on.
And all my other reps had their own method of implementing. Now, let's go to the desilting program. In the desilting program, the Labour Party was spending $1 million in the entire country for desilting. In Castries, Southeast alone, we're spending $1 million in desilting. Now, we not yet talk about Viewfort and Soufrière, ancillary canneries, and the Castries River, Marchand, and Gros-Îlet, the Bois d'Orange River, and all of these areas. All of these areas, Babono, everywhere, the Shock River, everywhere. So the UWP has spent on average between $3.5 and $4.5 million every year on desilting. So, regardez ça simplement. Labour Party a pour 4 années te kay dépensé $4 millions en desilting. Gouvernement Flambeau en yon l'année a dépensé 4 millions 500 4.5
Yeah, 4 millions 500.
4 millions et demi. 4 millions et demi dollars en yon l'année. So en yon l'année, nous avons dépensé plus l'argent en desilting parce que Labour Party fait pour whole 5 l'année, eh bien 4 l'année et demi en gouvernement.
And different truckers, and not the same truck owners.
I want St. Lucia to understand. These are the people coming to you and trying to tell you they are the government that's for you. I want one of them to challenge me on what I have presented here. Now, the Labour Party is playing very dirty politics, which I do not want to go down the road of what the Labour Party is doing. And communities are getting fed up of the lies of the St. Lucia Labour Party. But I will come to this. The level of politics that is brought by the Labour Party in Castries Southeast is the lowest level politics we've had in this constituency over any period of time. I think the Labour Party candidate is a madman.
Yeah.
That's my honest opinion. You know, the Bible says, better to live in a corner of the roof than to share a house with a quarrelsome wife.
A nagging wife.
A nagging wife.
That's right.
Well, A number of Labour Party supporters have described the Labour Party candidate as nagging.
His own supporters?
His own supporters. Wow. And it's no joke. I didn't come here to talk about my opponent. I'm talking about the Labour Party and what they are doing. Everywhere the Labour Party goes, they are saying Guy is not good. That is, they cannot tell the people what they will do, how they will do it differently. And I'm coming to that because they say they go and give people money. But you first must have money to be able to give. That's right. Because you're not picking that like leaves on a tree.
That's right.
But there was an issue that took place in a community in my constituency that I got to learn about. And somebody from the Labour Party put a post. And you know what? The people of the constituency are irate about what is happening and how their community is being highlighted. Because there seemed to have been a dispute between two contractors, and I think one of them called the police. Because if there's a dispute, before people go into a fight, or you introduce,
get the law.
You get the law, and you get them to introduce. So, two people doing something that I am nowhere involved in. I wasn't there when the person signed their contracts. I'm not the one on the ground implementing the project. I recommend persons for the project, and I make no bones about that. This is CDP. I'm the parliamentary rep, and I recommend people to do projects in my constituency. And those who want to hide and say, oh, they ain't doing this, they ain't doing that. But they said that they were going to do the project, and I stopped the project when I came in. How you can go and issue contracts to people the week of elections? So wasn't that a political ploy? And who was issuing the contract? Somebody who was a candidate for the Labour Party. But today, when the same thing is happening to them, they sing a different song. Now, you see what I do? I'm not afraid of saying what I do. It's known. So CDP these are projects implemented by parliamentary reps, and as the parliamentary rep, I recommend people for the job. But once the people are recommended for the job, it is their responsibility to do the job, to do it up to standard in order for it to be certified to get paid. I don't get involved in that part of it. But for a candidate of the Labour Party to come in and try and make it look like is the rep that was talking about the police should be there attending to COVID matters, and we have them. They're attending to people's problems in the constituency. That is what you go into post about what you doing in the constituency. And the people in the I didn't know that the people in the community sent the thing to me, and they said, man, this man don't have no respect for our peaceful community.
Yeah. Because if you have a dispute, you have to bring in the law. That's what you have to call the police.
That's my way of passing.
Yeah.
I want to highlight something about Viewfort. Now,
no, but your candidate is very, very, how they call him, how the Labour Party's own supporters call him, a nagging wife?
Boy, he's not a wife, so I don't know. I mean, I cannot. Champagne, I told you some time ago, I have a development plan from 1977. And I want the people of St. Lucia to see. St. Lucia's national plan. Now, that was done by a UWP government. And it highlights a number of things: urban development, mixed agriculture, agriculture and expansion, forest expansion, special conservation areas, forest reserves, existing and proposed industrial development, existing and proposed tourism development. I mean, this is
the 1977.
Yes.
And that was well so preserved. Why you my goodness.
Let me tell you, they are very strong supporters of the UWP.
Yeah.
You will be amazed at the resources that are available to us. And so, you know, I don't want to go into all of the details, but I also have St. Lucia's national plan. Now, I have said that before, and I need to highlight that again, that the UWP has always had a plan. Remember, we came out with the Quadrant Development Plan between 2006 and 2011.
Yes,
That was on the previous UWP administrations. Medium-term development strategy, Nututasam is the theme, 2020 to 2023. We didn't know there would be COVID.
that's right.
We developed a plan for St. Lucia. And I want persons to understand what we are dealing with here. Because I want the Labour Party to show me I have gone through, and there may be things that I don't know. So if they have a development plan, I want them to put out the development plan. Now, I will read 2 paragraphs from this book for you on page 29. Problem areas. Under 5.1.10, it says, many problems inevitably emerge with entry into new fields of economic activity, and such is the case with manufacturing industry in St. Lucia. Significant among these are the lack of managerial and technical expertise and the reluctance of the commercial sector to branch into relatively unfamiliar fields of industrial enterprise. These 2 problems are related in that the lack of confidence shown in initiating productive ventures is partly due to the absence of appropriate technical training and experience. So they were highlighting what the issues were back in the 70s. Then we go to 5.1.11. Another problem concerns physical development strategy. And I'm deliberate about what I'm saying here. While I'm saying I'm deliberate in quoting this book because I want to make a point. Viewfort in the south of the island was selected as the main industrial development area primarily because of the existence of a former US base. That is back in the 70s. So the focus on Viewfort by a UWP government is not a coincidence.
No, it's nothing new.
It is not an afterthought. It has always been part. And if you look at the development plan that was done in the Quadrant Development Plan, you would see that most of what we are introducing in Viewfort was part of the Quadrant Development Plan that was introduced between 2006 and 2011. But here's what it says. So I want to read that. Viewfort in the south of the island was selected as the main industrial development area primarily because of the existence of a former US base, now 6,000 acres of prime publicly owned land adequately served with infrastructure and conveniently located near to the air and seaports with known expansion potential. From a strategic point of view, the selection of Viewfort as an area of accelerated industrial growth will, if successful, serve to stem the tide of population drift to the capital region in the north. And these facts justify concentration of effort in the Viewfort area. The recently upgraded road link between Viewfort and Castries has vastly improved communication between the two centers. But it is significant that up to now, it has not been much more difficult to find tenants for space at Viewfort than in Castries. The industrial facilities offered in Viewfort are at least as good as those in Castries, but the amenities offered by the former cannot approach those of the latter, highlighting the need to complement the industrial drive with all-round development effort to make the selected growth point to attract an attractive place to live. And I want to stop there in terms of what I am highlighting. That is a development plan back in the 70s. Now, where are we today? Dr. Anthony served 15 years as Prime Minister of Viewfort. What was his vision for Viewfort and what did he do? The port in Viewfort literally closed down under the watch of the St. Lucia Labour Party.
That's a fact. That is a fact.
The airport fence had a hole when we came in 2006, where almost all airlines had already pulled out of St. Lucia and was not being addressed. I was part of the first meeting when we went to Miami, and because of Sir John's re-entry into the political arena, that the president of American Airlines decided that he was going to keep the flight in St. Lucia and make it a daily flight at no cost to St. Lucia.
So we almost lost American Airlines.
Almost. So I went around Viewfort on Friday, the Prime Minister and myself. And it is amazing. I want the people of St. Lucia to pay attention to what I am saying. Development does not come by accident. Development must be deliberate. It must be planned. I have a letter here in my hand, addressed to one Robert Ainsworth. This is the letter from the office of the Prime Minister. I want to show.
Which Prime Minister?
I will show you.
Okay.
I want to show the signature. This is the signature page of the letter.
Okay, so we know which signature.
Dr. Kennedy Anthony, Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Economic Affairs, Planning, and Social Security, and copied to Mr. Peter I. Foster, QC, Attorney at Law. And I want to read a couple sections in this. So here's what it says. I write in response to our telephone conversation during November last year and your subsequent email correspondence providing details of the new financial structure for DCG Properties Limited and for Equator Lands Companies, the latter being the developer or development company. I also write in response to our meeting later in London in December, at which you gave me a draft document that illustrates your development plans for Praslin Bay and Top of the Morn. During our discussions, you have outlined that you and your partners will purchase the parcel of land that comprise the La Paradis properties at Praslin and thereon create a hotel and residential development second to none seen in this part of the Caribbean. I will include the concept details in your brochure, inclusive of a very high-end boutique hotel and residential properties. This development will be in the region of 800 million United States dollars. So that's one. So a developer comes to Dr. Anthony and says that he's going to do a hotel development.
Yeah.
800 million US dollars. Now think of it. The Sandals property that was taken to court and has been put on hold, the Beaches property that was being developed there, was what, 200 million?
200 million, yeah.
So think of a development. What was the cost of the last hotel that was built there?
Royalton?
Royalton. Was Royalton 300 million? So think of a hotel. Somebody come and tell you they come in and build a hotel and the hotel is $800 million. Anyway, here's what it says. You would also acquire, so that's Dr. Anthony writing to the
developer.
Proposed developer. So he's saying you would also acquire by lease or purchase lands primarily in the south of the island, measuring approximately 1,000 acres to construct a manufacturing plant we spoke of. So the same land that they quarreled about, that DSH, now DSH has only about less than 200 acres of land, if my memory serves me right. I'm subject to correction on that, but I know that the lands that involved the government was in the region of 200 acres or less. But the Labour Party government is promising somebody or is saying that that person will buy or lease. You would acquire by lease or purchase. So acquire, I don't know if you acquire by lease. It could be a long-term lease, so it could be a 99-year lease.
Or purchase.
Or purchase 1,000 acres of land to construct a manufacturing plant we spoke of. Which manufacturing plant they can build in St. Lucia that will occupy 1,000 acres of land? Really?
That's a lot of land.
But here's the best part of it. The equipment alone to be installed in St. Lucia in the first instance will cost 500 million euros.
The equipment?
The equipment alone. So that's not that's not the manufacturing plant, you know.
My goodness. What is that, a space plant?
No. C'est nom qui a dit l'histoire. Et ka kwene couillon.
Wow.
Because ça couillon yon qui ka kwe.
Yeah.
That un homme qui a just vin faire ça. Equipment 500
million euros.
Because I checked the zeros to make sure
yeah.
It's not 50 million. So they have 5 and 2 zeros behind it, then a comma, then they have 3 zeros, then they have a comma, then they have another 3 zeros, and then they have a full stop, and then they have 2 zeros.
That's right.
So I think my understanding of mathematics is 500 million euros. The construction of the plant will cost an additional equivalent sum as special construction material and process will be required. So the factory will cost 500, an additional 500. So that is 1 billion euros. So 1 billion euros, if you look at the exchange rate of $3,
Yes, $3. So it's 3 billion EC.
that's 3 billion EC. Now that's in addition to the 800 million US hotel.
Yes.
So
8 by 2.67 would be about 2 billion.
8 freeze 24.
Okay.
So let's round it off to another 2 billion.
2.4 billion.
So that is already $5 billion. But you criticize DSH and you say, who come in and spend $3 billion in a development in St. Lucia? But you believe that. The employment creation in the first instance will be at least 5,000 jobs and will increase substantially as the project unfolds throughout the island. You have further stated that you are ready to commence this development within the next couple of months. That was February 9th, 2016. Next couple of months would be March, April, May. You call elections in June. Mas jamais rien fait. Now, hear that? The appointment of a dedicated government project liaison executive within the government department whose position and authority will be to confirm and accept by the government and all statutory authorities of St. Lucia to facilitate the approvals and execution of agreements and licenses to ensure the timely completion of the overall project. Scope of works will be mutually agreed between both parties. And here's the best part, that all the timelines within the existing DCA are to be reviewed and amended to commence with the expected start date of your project in line with your present expectations. So you're going to go and adjust timelines and DCA. So where was the authority that always challenge us on what we are doing?
You want me to say the name?
No, we don't have to say the name.
Okay, all right.
Now,
So that 1,000 acres, does it state where in the south that 1,000 acres?
it doesn't say anything of where it is. But I know that one of the site visits that they did was the same place where the DSH is.
Boy.
And they visited DSH before us with DSH.
I was about to say that. So you're dealing with two different developers for the same property.
Here's what they were offered: waiver of personal income tax for the board and senior management of Lifestyle Group PLC and Equator Lands Limited and its subsidiaries up to a maximum of 20 board or senior managers. This waiver to be extended to all purchasers of property under development to include first-time purchasers. So you give board members, you give managers, everybody, waiver of personal income tax for everybody. But when the UWP does the same thing, you criticize. Waiver of corporation tax for the development company, its subsidiaries, any and all of its joint venture partners, including but not limited to operators of hotels, casinos, marinas, retail, private members club, theater, real estate developments. Exemption of all forms of VAT and import duty for construction purposes for the development company, its subsidiaries, any and all joint venture partners, including but not limited to operators of hotels, casinos, theaters, marina, and the list goes on, private club, incorporation of, and hear that, on the importation of all and any materials, including but not limited to building material, plant, equipment, fixtures, goods, supplies, vehicles during the construction phase and for ongoing maintenance, repair, renovation, renewal, expansion of the development for the period of 25 years from the commencement date of the, there's more, exemption and or waiver of alien landholding license, stamp duty of the development company, its subsidiaries, and any and all joint venture partners for all real estate purchase for first-time buyers. And here's the bomb. Withholding tax. You remember how much they criticize Sandals
That's right.
that have free established hotels employing thousands of St. Lucians and contributing millions of dollars to the economy of St. Lucia. For their withholding tax, they make it look like somebody committed a crime when it was something that they were rightfully entitled to. The development company, its shareholders, directors, managers, real estate owners, any and all joint venture partners shall have the right to repatriate dividend, interest, principals on payments, on any loans made by them and payments made to them for services free of withholding tax, income tax, corporation tax, and any other taxes in effect or to be enacted. So yo passe loi qui poko même là yo ja exempt company from ça. And you want me to take the Labour Party serious? Anybody want these fellas lie through their teeth? They come and they paint one picture to the people of St. Lucia, but when you put, they have more, you know, that the proposed development be appropriate fall within the Tourism Incentive Act, that the government will sanction the establishment of special security arrangements for the investment given the sensitive nature of the investment. Port of entry status, the development company will provide facilities for the establishment of a permanent customs and immigration office for the facility. So you can need own moon customs, your own customs officer,
St. Martin, Freeport.
Okay? In the areas of the development where manufacturing plants will be established in the south of the island, a free zone designation under the laws of St. Lucia, the government will facilitate the establishment of investment. Hear that? The government will facilitate the establishment of the investment as a CIP-approved investment under the provision of Citizenship by Investment Act to include but not limited to. So when Richard Frederick talk all his nonsense on radio and on TV about DSH and what is happening, I want him to make reference to this letter. And I want him to tell me how the government will facilitate the establishment of investment as a CIP-approved investment. So this can be CIP-approved investment because, say, Dr. Kenny Anthony Gidi. But when it's the UWP making decisions for the benefit of St. Lucia, it is wrong. Any and all joint venture partners connected with the development, including the hotel operator, retail, casino, theaters, nightclub, private clubs, and marinas. Any and all users of the development, work permits, the developers, directors, shareholders, and senior management together with the same and any and all joint venture partners be exempt from the requirements for work permit and fees once the ratio of non-nationals to nationals is 20 to 80. The developer will submit as when applicable the schedule. Now, there is a section of that I was looking for. So here that the government acknowledges that Equator Lands has directly or through one of its subsidiaries begun the process of acquiring, hear that? Begun the process of acquiring the freehold of Trumasse, Louvet, Hal Estate on the east coast of St. Lucia with the view of developing these lands in conjunction and in harmony with the new concept Pralin Bay development. In addition, the development company wishes to lease from the government further lands extending to approximately 1,000 acres in the location of the industrial use to establish its factories. In the event that one or more of these lands are acquired, then it is understood between the parties that the concession referred to above for the Pralin Bay development shall extend to include developments in these additional lands. Now, you think Labour Party, Philip JP and Kenny Anthony learned anything from Greenberg? Here's what they did on page 8 of the letter. The government confirms the right of the developer to extract and develop the natural resources, if any, that are discovered within the curtilage of any of the lands owned by the developer and its subsidiaries. Now you know that if when they drilling they get
Oil.
or when they digging they get gold or they get silver or they get some precious, some oil or something.
Yeah.
After Kenny Anthony went into the Grindberg Agreement that we are still in court with today, you are, after everything that went on, that's why I tell you, the Labour Party has no regard for the people of St. Lucia.
No.
You coming back 10 years later or more, you spend 10 years in government, you spend 5 years in opposition, you come back into government in 2016. You go in and sign an agreement with a developer. Now, if you look at all of these estates that we are talking about there, because they have, here are the estates that they said, Trumasse, Louvet, Hal Estates, I don't know where that is, on the east coast of St. Lucia, with the view of developing these lands, in conjunction with all the lands for Prale, and plus 1,000 acres in Viewfort. Labour Party was selling St. Lucia under us.
The whole of St. Lucia.
But say, Sai of Le Munque. So, DSH does not even have 200 acres of land. But you are giving this, and you give them the right to mine whatever resources they have there.
Yeah.
As indicated above, the government may deem it prudent to enact special legislative provisions to facilitate this development. Dr. Anthony was saying we are willing to go to Parliament to pass special laws just for you.
Wow.
And today these people are fighting the development in Viewfort. And people in Viewfort will leave their home on election day. I vote by a Labour Party representative.
Yeah.
Now here's what the letter says. On behalf of the government, we look forward to working with you and your team in the future and to assist with the creation of a unique and exciting new experience for the island, which we envisage to be entirely beneficial to the economic and social development of the people. This letter and its terms is to be kept confidential as between the parties and your intended joint venture partners only, and will become public on the mutual agreement of the parties. On behalf of the great people of St. Lucia, we look forward to a positive contribution to our economy and increased sustainable development.
The letter was supposed to be confidential, but on behalf of the great people of St. Lucia.
Now, that's a natural part of agreements. So when you hear that we are in government and we cannot release certain information, it's not because we're hiding anything from the people of St. Lucia. It's what are the terms of the agreement that people have gone into. Now, why did I highlight this thing? For the first time in the history of St. Lucia, maybe going as far back as when the Americans were in St. Lucia, Viewfort is getting its fair share of development. You have Ojo Labs employing hundreds of young St. Lucians.
Yep.
You know there are people who have left Castries and now going down to Viewfort to work.
At Ojo Labs. So the times has changed.
When did we think of people leaving Castries to find a job in Viewfort? This has only happened under this UWP government. Let's go further. ITEL BPO has employed hundreds of St. Lucians. I went there. There were factory shells there and close to the free zone by the airport. These buildings for more than 20 years have been closed, generating nothing. Now let's talk a little bit of economics. You can have the best piece of land. It is sitting there and all you do is I have a piece of land or I have a nice house. Nobody is occupying it. Nobody is renting it. You just have it on paper to say that you have that. What is that generating for you?
Nothing.
Now, every day that it stays out of use is an opportunity lost. You cannot regain that opportunity no matter what you do. And that is what I want the people of St. Lucia to understand. I want the people of Castries Southeast to understand. When we talk about a balanced development for St. Lucia, Philip J. Pierre said he want to make cul-de-sac a smart city.
Yeah.
Tell him cul-de-sac is well on its way to being developed.
Yeah.
I think he should try and develop Marshall
Yeah.
the way cul-de-sac
Yeah.
is developing. That's what he should try and do. But let's go to what's happening in Viewfort, because I want to highlight that. So we have Ojo Labs employing hundreds of cents. We have ITEL BPO. And when I went down there and I saw the 2 new buildings that is properly outfitted for ITEL BPO, because they are going to increase the number of employees. Maybe before the end of this year, under UWP government, they may be employing 1,000 St. Lucians in the south of the island. So think of it. My understanding is between ITEL BPO and Ojo Labs, they may be paying salaries of close to $4 million a month. That is money that goes in circulation in Viewfort. I want to ask Dr. Kenny Anthony and Philip J. Pierre, when last did they create a job in Viewfort? Now you think, Champagne, we have ITEL BPO. The Wasco office complex is being built. You have 15 kilometers of pipe laying happening in and around the Viewfort area. For the first time, Viewfort will have water, a water supply that they never had. And that is happening under a United Workers' Party government. 15 years of Alva Baptist, Musa, and Kenny as reps of Viewfort North, Viewfort South, and Labrie could not bring water. The water project was in Grace in Viewfort. And that's why the people say they go into London.
They're going to London, that's for sure.
Because Musa is a complete waste of time when it comes to representation. You tell me a water project, Javier Fall, la pli tombe,
No pan d'eau.
yo pan de l'eau because glou a sal.
Oui.
Le soleil a chauffé, ou a vin sec, yo pan de l'eau. Y'all did everything. You don't know that the people of Viewfort needed water, a basic thing. It had to take a UWP government. Now, 15 kilometers of pipes being laid. And when you go up to Grace and you see the project in terms of the treatment plan that is happening there, that is over $50 million of water works being done by the minister Ezekiel Joseph,
Yes, sir. Yes,
who
sir.
has the responsibility for agriculture and Wasco.
And you're talking after 50 years of representation from the Labour Party,
Yes.
up in Viewfort now.
They had a plan that was brought down. It was left there to rust and to rot. They had to pay somebody 10,000 US to mount the plan. The Labour Party spent 10 years in office. They did not engage the gentleman. It had to take us, when we came in 2011 after Hurricane Thomas, to re-engage the gentleman to get this. Then you have the airport terminal going on. That's another $600 million project that we are talking. And I went on site, the cranes are there, the process of piling, the site has been cleared. Then we have the St. Jude construction. You know that the hundreds of people, and you saw, well, I mean, everybody saw that the panels are going up, and all of the people who are employed down there. You have, now I'm talking about the South in general,
yes.
not just Viewfort.
Yes.
You have the Saltibus Road project. Every rep before Bradley Felix promised the only man who is delivering for Choiseul is Bradley Felix.
Yes, sir.
Previous UWP government's promise, the Saltibus Road. I can show you document upon document when the Labour Party was in office. And I know that's one of the promises that was made to the people of Saltibus, that the road would be done. The Labour Party spent 15 years in office. The Salty Bus Road was not done. And under Minister Bradley Felix, in less than 5 years, Salty Bus is getting a world class
Now on that
carpet
same
road.
On that same road, I have a video on my phone with the opposition leader, Philippe Pierre, as Minister of Infrastructure, stating that $400,000 will be established for potholing. Potholing. And then they're going to do that road. That road was never done.
Never.
$400,000 for potholing. And then after that, they're going to fix the road. It was never done.
The last set of works, I think, that was really done there, we did the Jetwin Road when Rufus was the representative, and we did some drainage on the main Salty Bus Road. But I go down Park Estate Road. And Park Estate Road has direct connection with Dr. Kenny Anthony. They did the drains way back and they left the road. If you see that nice piece of work Minister Bradley is doing on the Park Estate Road, and we did visit some families down there. I don't remember the name of the family now, but an elderly gentleman who was the principal of the school at some point in time. I was very happy to visit them, and I want to assure them that their road, the road Bradley is doing a very nice work down there with the Park Estate Road. And those of us who know the story of the Devil's Bridge, the Devil's Bridge is along that same Park Estate Road. Now I'm talking about the South Still Health Center being built in Micoud.
Oh, yeah.
Then you have the new block for the Micoud Secondary School. Then you have the Deriso playing field that was done in PM's constituency with the artificial surface. Then you have the Micoud playing field also getting an artificial surface. Almost done, yes. Then you have, well, when we talk about, for roads, we can just say is roads. Everywhere you pass is roads. We know the first set of roads that was done by PM set the pattern and the standard. And whether you go north, south, east, and west. Oh, when I went through Minister Gill's constituency and I saw the number of concrete roads that are being done in the community of Micoud. When you put Micoud North and Micoud South together, I don't think at any other point in history that we have seen so much work happening at the same time within the constituencies of Micoud North and Micoud South.
And the Alan Shasney Drive, that is not something that came about this year. That, you're talking 2018 early.
2016,
2017.
Yes.
Early. Or mid
Now,
2017.
all of that, I have not mentioned DSH. And I left DSH for last deliberately because when they think that all we are banking on is DSH project, I am on the record as saying, anything that Teo Hakim builds in St. Lucia, he cannot take it on his back and go. Today, as we speak, they can say what they want. There are still people employed on DSH every fortnight and every month getting a salary. Prior to DSH coming there, who was getting a salary for anything that was happening on the land down there? So St. Lucians, wherever you are, you cannot go to failed politicians. I've said it and I will say it again. Anybody who can make money for themselves, they cannot help you to make money. Si pas ça fait l'argent pour quoi, c'est pas oui qui essaie de faire l'argent. Now, all I said, that did not include the private sector development. You saw that brand new glass building that when I say glass, not glass, the nice building, nice facade of that building in Viewfort, fully occupied. You know, we are looking for a place to rent for the Ministry of Transport because we want to expand our services. The space we have is too confined. We cannot get a proper space within the vicinity of Viewfort where the bulk of the activities, because everything is occupied in Viewfort. You have something? Okay. I'm just saying that there is activity. I passed by Uptown Liquor Store and I saw they put a mezzanine floor and they're expanding. I mean, I went down there and I saw the work being done at ITEL BPO by Bryce and Company. Then I have not spoken about that major warehouse facility for the expansion of the Windward and Leeward Brewery.
Right.
And what Bryce himself is doing down there in terms of expansion. So Viewfort is definitely taking off as far as development is concerned.
There's also a development that Dyer is going to put up right there adjacent to Coconut Bay.
To Coconut Bay.
Yeah.
And then I don't select projects, you know, the projects being done by True Value down there, the housing developments in the area. Private sector development is taking place. Then when I went down there and I saw what St. Louis is doing in terms of local furniture cupboards and kitchen cupboards, custom made, the same things that you are getting, you can go and buy at Home Depot in Miami. You can get the same things in St. Lucia, custom made.
You know, life is so unpredictable. 10, 15, 20 years ago, you have buses, people getting out of you for early morning to come to Castries to work. Now you have a reverse of that, you know. And it's going to continue because all of the development that's going on down there, you have a reverse. People will leave Castries to go to Beaufort to work.
So, Champagne, the point I want to make is, when Philip JPS says, give people money, and I'll deal with that in Parliament tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Give people money.
Yeah.
When you give people money, it's one set of people that benefit from that. You give them the money, they just go, they go to the store, and I guess Massey would be the biggest beneficiary of giving people, because what they would do is buy their basic needs. When you create employment, so let's look at a road that is being done. When you construct a piece of road, you buy stones, you buy cement. The truck bringing the material has to buy fuel. The gas station attendants kept busy. The person selling the cement. The boats bringing in the importation. So if you put everybody to sit down and you just give them money, your economy comes to a grinding halt.
Yes.
But you see, that's the mentality of the Labour Party. That is how they function. And they cannot help themselves because they don't know how the economy works. So how can they guide an economy? You wonder why they couldn't raise money when they were in government? So when I look at what Prime Minister Alan Chastanet has done, let me tell you, how do you create wealth? You have to create an enabling environment for things to grow. What you have can just be its present value. And if it is something that the value appreciates, then it will go up over time. Or it can depreciate in the case of a vehicle. You buy a vehicle today, tomorrow the value is less. You buy land today, the land value will go up. Now, I have not touched housing. I'm going to come to that to show you the cases we went to court with, how much money we paid to lawyers, and how much the courts charge us because of the bad management of the Labour Party. But we are now getting housing in motion where more St. Lucians will get access to land than any other period of time. And I did not even talk about the housing project in PM's constituency that was done by Invest St. Lucia. You see how many houses being built in the community of Forest. Have you gone to shock to see that development that we are doing there? And all of the places throughout the length and breadth of St. Lucia, the Talvan housing project has started, and that is going on very well in the community of Babono. So even if you have 10 acres of land, and you there, and this land is producing nothing. It doesn't have a mango tree, it doesn't have a banana tree. You're not leasing it, you're not allowing somebody to work it. That land is just sitting there, not generating anything. That is why when we look at what is happening, you need a catalyst for development. So that's why when you build malls, when you build a Walmart in the US, other things develop around it. You need a main tenant to draw other people.
Yeah.
So if you look at Sunny Acres, you look at the mall there, if you take out the supermarket from there, it kills the business of the mall because people may not come there. And everybody who travels and see these things, every major development wants one or two key
Yeah.
players
You need an eye catcher.
to draw people to them. That is what I saw DSH as. I saw DSH as a catalyst to encourage the development. So the fact that you have a horse racing track, take the horse racing track and go anywhere with it. He has to leave it there. If he doesn't want to operate it, we can find other uses for it.
Yeah.
But I know that the horses that are there are being fed. Somebody have to take care of them. The lawns are being maintained. The buildings are being kept. St. Lucians are employed. And once we get over this COVID situation that we have there. Now you realize I have not spoken a lot about COVID because
No.
I'm reserving enough
for
fuel
tomorrow.
for Parliament tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I have done quite a bit of talking. I want St. Lucians to understand where we are. We have a plan. We are developing this country from every corner
Every angle, that's right.
of the country. We are not selecting one area. From Grosile in the north to Viewfort in the south. From Babono in the east.
Yes,
No, I don't want to say Babono in the east. I want to say Castries southeast.
yes, yes, to Soufre.
Or Dennery in the east
Yeah,
to Soufre,
on the west.
Canaries, and Slurry on the west
Yes.
side. You cannot go somewhere in St. Lucia today and not see something
going on.
that has been done
That is right.
by the United Workers' Party government. And you know why we've achieved all of that? Because we have a leader in this country that the world respects.
That's right.
We have a leader who has influence. We have a leader who was able to get St. Lucia's financial house in order
Yes.
so that we could raise the necessary money to keep things afloat. Things are not where we want it to be. But I think that this government is going to keep it going at the rate that it needs to survive COVID. And then we will see the takeoff because we are building while we are dealing with COVID.
Yeah.
I think we can open the lines.
Yes,
and take
before
a
we
few
open the
calls.
line, I just want to ask you, Mr. Minister, how pleased were you when you saw that first cladding being erected up there on the St. Jude's Hospital?
I'm happy you asked this question because I saw some foolish comments. People need to understand. Before you talk about things, do your research. We call it cladding just so that people understand what we are doing. But what we are doing is a new technology in building. So sometimes after you put blocks, you put a cladding for the block. Or sometimes for example, I built my house with blocks, but I always like a wooden house. So for the front of my house, I bought local boards and I wanted a rustic look. So what I did was I used the local boards and I clad the house. So that now anybody looking at it would not know on the inside these blocks. They would just see so that is not what is happening at the hospital. The hospital, we have used a new technology that helps to regulate the temperature inside the building. So your cost of running AC is going to be lower.
Okay.
The chances of mold infestation will be reduced. I cannot say eliminated. I don't know. We are testing the technology there.
Yeah.
All of the data is showing that it would work. It's also fire resistant. So when they talk about what was burnt in England, and we
yes,
introducing
yes,
these same
yes.
things, people need to understand. Then the maintenance is cheaper because you don't have to be painting.
all the
It is a permanent
That's right.
color that is built into the material. And anybody can go down there. So you have steel frames. It's a galvanized metal frame that you have there. So it's built to resist, and they are putting some wedges between each of them so that it can withstand a certain magnitude of earthquake. Because remember, we are building resilience. And I want the people to understand, we are not repaying St. Jude's. We are building a brand new hospital.
That's right.
A hospital that is bigger than OKEU in terms of square footage. And that's outside of the existing buildings of St. Jude. I'm talking about the new footprint. And I will come to discuss that in greater detail. Anybody would understand that it takes sometimes 10 years to plan a hospital and maybe another 5 years to build. That is between 10 and 15 years. If you can pull up the clipping with Dr. King, do you have that? On St. Jude Hospital that was carried on Untold Stories. If you can pull up that for me, I would love to play that clipping.
Okay.
Because people usually criticize us. But I want persons to understand, we are building a hospital that will last view for the next 50 years. We are not building a hospital and in a couple days. I want to play that clipping before we go to the phone lines.
Okay. All right, Senator. So there we have it.
When the news came that the construction process will be halted and an audit will be conducted, what were your thoughts?
I actually thought that was a good idea. I thought that was a good, because let's go back to what I said a little bit earlier. In fact, I wish that Dr. Anthony had done that when he had taken over, I think in 2011, because to continue in the same vein would be to continue the same process that puts us in the trouble that we're in. So clearly, one had to create a punctuation mark, a full stop, bam, and let us see where we are and then plan from here sensibly.
Did you agree with the project being stopped and an audit being conducted?
It is clear from reading the report that Minister Guy Joseph has been vindicated in relation to his decision to stop the project and to have that review.
The technical audit conducted by FDL Consult determined that out of the 25 buildings which form the facility, most are only 50% complete, except for the ambulance bay and the morgue. The report also determined that most of the emails on behalf of the government of St. Lucia, through the project manager, circumvented the government email server and were instead transmitted from the private email of Shanta King. Retrieval of these emails to validate transactions was therefore impossible.
You see, some people may change their storyline. This government has remained consistent. We did not stop the project to spite anybody. There's no way you undertake to do something like this without doing a proper investigation of what you are going into. And it is clear that the $176 million that was earmarked to finish St. Jude would not finish St. Jude. Now remember, by the Labour Party claims, they had spent about $88 million. I know that our audit shows that a little more than over 100 million was spent. But if I go by their own estimation of 88 million, and the final price was 176 million. It means that we needed another $88 million. Because as you heard in the report, that most of the 25 buildings, with the exception of the morgue and the ambulance center, which was done directly through, I think, the Mexican government, these were the only two completed parts of, and most of the other, and you saw the pictures that Norbert posted about the poor workmanship and the traps, because I call it a disaster that was waiting to happen. A big steel beam with one bolt holding it, and cracked floors for dialysis and everything. And we tried to save as many of the buildings. We could not. So the evidence is there that we have done the right thing. Everybody wants to measure us. Oh, you said you would finish the hospital. We said we would finish the hospital, and we will finish the hospital. But it looks like everybody forgot what we inherited, what the situation is, and what we are doing. And everybody who has gone down there to see, everyone who has gone down there to see what St. Jude is, tell you, is now they see a real hospital is being built. And anybody who, because people hear things, but they don't see. When you see, you can have an appreciation of what a real hospital is in terms of what we are doing. Let's go to the
I would like to question the minister on something, but are we going to, you have some clippings we have to show for
No. We won't do any clippings for Castries South.
We'll do it next Monday, God willing. All right. All right, so we're speaking with the minister, the Honorable Guy Joseph, always on a Monday evening.
Maybe I'll do a clipping to close with the Forestier Road.
Okay,
so you'll
inside
have that
Castries office. And our number to call is always 4560931. We also have our WhatsApp number, which is 4850931. Beautiful evening to you. Hello. Good evening.
Yeah, good night, gentlemen.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Minister, you need... Mr. Minister, you need to... Hello?
Go ahead, sir.
We heard you.
Yeah, Mr. Minister, you need to clear the air. It is said that St. Jude is not a hospital, it's a big health center. It will not be accredited by no health institution, international health institution.
Well, I can tell you that the hospital is designed specifically to meet accreditation requirements. So if you look at one of the things that we took us some time was to fix the emergency exits that we have there. And you would see that up to where we put the cladding, you would see these walls projecting out, because that was, and it's on either side of the building, that was one of the requirements for accreditation. Well, and there are several things. Now, let me tell you, the Labour Party can talk all the foolishness that they want. At the end of the day, we are building a world-class facility. Theirs could not even pass the basic test. The first thing it failed was the fire and safety test. It failed that. The former St. Jude Hospital. Thinking of a hospital that was destroyed by fire, and the first test that it fails. Is that, I mean, I'm not going to waste time and argue with these people about anything. We are building the hospital to international standards, and the hospital will get accreditation.
You see, the nonsense that is being peddled out there is that it won't get accreditation. They will only perform minor surgeries. And okay, will be the major hospital, and it is built just to facilitate the Caymans.
I will tell you, Cayman is nowhere in the equation, but I will tell you, I expect in a few years from now that St. Jude Hospital would be the area of specialization in St. Lucia, because we have built it with the capacity for private rooms. You see, I want people, we have built it with the capacity for a helipad. On top of it, we are going to be able to offer specialized services down there. And we want to make it part of a certain section of the hospital will be a referral hospital, where people who need special treatment will be able to get that. And that is not new to St. Jude. I have said to persons that St. Jude, when it was run by the Sisters of Mercy, always had areas of specialization. Because these people would come down, they would spend a certain amount of time in St. Lucia. And those of us who, my mother lived in Auger for a number of years. So I'm quite familiar with St. Jude. I used to be, my dentist, all my dentist appointments and everything used to be at St. Jude. When my mother was sick, even when she was living in Forest here, in St. Jude, she would go to the doctor. So some of them who lived in Vieux-Fort never went to St. Jude. They don't know anything about St. Jude. I can tell them more about St. Jude than maybe they themselves who live down there. So I know, and I said it, and I don't have to be there to see it happen. I'm here today, I may not be there tomorrow. But everybody will know, and St. Jude will live on long beyond those of us who are doing the work to build a world-class hospital in Vieux-Fort.
All right, caller?
You see, no, hold on, Samuel. You see, the thing about it is, they never thought St. Jude would have been completed. Now it is coming to fruition.
Yeah.
There must be an attraction.
Yeah, another controversy.
The subject will change because it's people who are not consistent. I've told you, the Labour Party does not believe what they say. If they are saying it and they don't believe it, I don't know why the people of St. Lucia believe in them. And we are doing this because we care about the people of St. Lucia. We must never miss that. What is it that is driving us? Of course, we could have gone and repaired St. Jude and let it be a makeshift hospital as it was working out to be. But we said if Vieux-Fort is going to take its rightful place in the development, and they talk about Vieux-Fort, let them wait and see what's coming for Soufrière. We are in the final stages of negotiating a 20-bed facility for Soufrière. And that is going to be world-class also. So they can talk, and Dennery, we have gone back out to tender on the Dennery.
I don't know if you remember, they had proposed a 5% salary cut.
Yes, 000, right?
No,
the 5% salary cut.
They were actually going to reduce all public servant salaries by 5%.
Yes.
That was because of finance. They could not raise finance. And not too long after that, the government changed. All the government asked was for a deferred payment, and people was in uproar.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
They didn't get the deferred payment. COVID came. Right now, the government is actually running 2 hospitals, Victoria Hospital and OKEU, simultaneously. Both of them at full capacity. We have the government has employed cordon wardens. Nobody has got no salary cuts. Nobody got no problems for their payment, for their salaries every month. Why?
And look at that, caller. To add to this, we now have how many quarantine facilities running? I want the people of St. Lucia to think, you really believe that the Labour Party could do this?
No.
Under normal circumstances, they did a naming ceremony for OKEU and could not find the money to open OKEU.
And then you come and talk about the Prime Minister cannot manage.
Caller, had OKEU not been open, we would have been in a disaster with this coronavirus.
And caller, we don't just operate the 2 hospitals, you know.
It's maintained.
We did a full refurbishment of Victoria Hospital, where each room, or up to 2 rooms, they are individual rooms, but 2 rooms share 1 bathroom, all of the modern facilities that was required to be able, UV lights and everything, extractor fans, AC, to deal with the COVID situation, because to make it the respiratory hospital, in the process to get ventilators, to do all of the things that we have done. I mean, the amount of money this government has spent on COVID alone, the Labour Party could not even dream of where they were going to get the resources. Now, that's all in the hands of St. Lucians. St. Lucians will vote for what they want. If they want, how many times does people have to lie to you for you to accept that they are a liar, or for them to bluff you? Because if they're not lying, then they bluff it.
Caller, all right, caller, we want to get as many as possible.
The last thing, Champagne. You already talk about, they always talk about companies. Before something, they talk about Festa, they talk about companies.
Yes, yes.
Champagne, I'll give you some homework.
Family, friends,
you remember when they were put, the land for the La Paris Hotel was to be purchased? That's your homework.
Yes, I remember.
Find out the developer from who they bought the land. Was it from the people?
Yes.
A company was found out who were the directors of that company, who bought the land from the people and then sold it to the developer.
I remember last time you gave me that assignment. I got part of it already. I'm looking for the rest. Okay, caller.
When we talk about companies.
Yes.
No, because they know what they do, so they think everybody is like them.
Yeah. All right, have a good evening, caller. Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
all right, beautiful. Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good night. How you doing, Champagne?
I'm doing good, sir. Good evening.
Good night, Mr. Guy Joseph.
Good night.
Yeah, man. I'm so happy. Last week, what I saw the panels going up, and you know what really touched me? Is that you're so concerned, this government is so concerned about this hospital, to leave your home, you know, in the morning when making dark, probably the wife must be saying, where is Mr. Joseph, Mr. Prime Minister, wife must be saying, where is Alan? And to see y'all making your way down there, to see that reality is coming to life. And you know what really hurt me? I recall just before the election, they went to Parliament, and I was the one, you know, taking on the St. Lucia Labour Party, telling them about, you know, the European Union that gives them the money for the OKU hospital. And every time the Minister for Health, the former Minister for Health, Alvina Reynolds, the hospital is open, the hospital is open. They keep repeating that over 100 times, and we've never seen a hospital opening. St. Joseph open, St. Joseph open, it never opened. When the United Workers' Party get into power, okay, you all did the auditing and stuff like that on the hospital to find out, and what they give us was a magie. It was a magie, you know? And I'm happy now to get a state-of-the-art hospital. And even before, I want you all to remember that, even before when the United Workers' Party got in there, I don't know how true it is, but I was hearing, I'm not sure if it's rumor, that the bill has straight from the materials down there, materials gone all in, how they call that place there, in Castries, in Groningen there. Would you believe that?
So, caller,
let the minister respond, caller. Allow the minister
just
to respond.
permit me to come in there quickly on a quick matter that you raised there about going down there very early in the morning. Yes, we did leave home while it was still a bit dark. But you know what I realized after we went down there? Remember, we had to bring in specialists to train our people. So most of these panels are now being built by St. Lucians. We have only 4 people who came in initially to train our people. So that's new technology transfer, and they have complemented the ability of our people. These people have left their families for months in a COVID environment, came to St. Lucia. spend their 14 days in quarantine before they can go on the project site, risk themselves every day. You know what they said to me when we went down there? They said, this gives us the motivation to work. Because when we can see a prime minister, and some of them are from Canada, they said, we've never seen the prime minister in Canada in person. But when we saw the prime minister leaving Castries and coming down to Vieux Fort so early in the morning, just to see these panels go up, it tells us the value that you place on this. And it gives us the motivation that we need. That this is not just another job that we are doing, but we are doing something that the country really needs. And I felt very good because I didn't know that going there would have had such an impact on the workers. But they realized that the sacrifice they themselves are making, because they could be in their own country with their own family in this environment, they took the risk, because apart from those who are building the panels, those who are there, it's a specialized thing to install it and to go through the process. So they have come in, and that's a new crew that came in to train our people on the panel installation. And so I am very appreciative of what they are doing, and I felt very good to know that our presence there was also a motivation for them.
Okay,
I
go
love
on.
to hear that. That's good news for St. Lucia. Because if another hospital is built elsewhere and they need some panels, those St. Lucians could go out and get employment and make it big in life and come back and invest, so we could have more jobs back there.
Absolutely.
But Mr. Joseph, one thing I want to tell you.
Caller, you have one more minute, huh?
Yeah. Those materials after the party, it was somewhere in Castries, you know. I mean, a lot of people need to be locked up in this thing, man. A lot of people, this is people's money. You don't play people's money that kind of way, man. And to make it worse, there was a guy called in Champagne, a fellow from Vieux. He said his servant was going out with material, and he was a supervisor there, and he didn't report that. This guy needs to bring into question. They need to investigate that guy. Who are the guys that were taking the government property and going elsewhere with it? I have a problem with that.
But Kola, isn't that a norm with the Labour Party? Isn't one of them in court now for a government vehicle?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So, caller, thanks a lot. Let's give somebody else a question in. Thank you, caller. Have a good evening.
Yeah, man.
All right, beautiful. All right, hello, good evening.
Hello.
Good evening, sir.
Good night.
Good night to you.
Champagne.
Yes, sir.
How you doing?
I'm doing good, sir. Thank you.
Minister Guy.
Good night, sir.
Champagne, it's Cow.
Hey, how you doing, my brother?
What's up?
All right.
Mr. Guy.
Yes.
How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Well, I'll tell you what. Despite all what you heard about St. Jude's, you remember when my government came in, we did how you call that? You conducted something about St. Jude's, right?
An audit, yeah.
An audit. Yeah. Help me along the way.
Yeah.
And then we paid for that audit, right?
Yes.
But after the audit, my memorandum of understanding, you know, after we got down to the bottom of everything, I was one of those, that was my personal view. I always, on Jugwa, which is one of my top leading, you know, program, I always said that if St. Jude is not completed by election time, I would have you to refinance the country the money we paid for the audit. But I'll tell you what, today I can stand and vow that St. Jude makes you bigger than life. Because with all the criticisms that people have leveled at you and my government, we have proven it. Okay?
Yeah.
St. Jude is getting a state of the art. Now I'll tell you, where my problem is my PRO of the party. because they're supposed to be doing these jobs, because there are people who down in Moshi and in everywhere who can go down St. Jude and see what's happening. They only hear we speaking. But we're supposed to have that on the show, showing what we have been producing.
Well, Kola, you probably have missed the show because we have been doing that here, myself, Brother Norbert, everybody.
Well, no, I'm just telling you, you know, because based on you see, Labour Party is just trying to tarnish people, you know, go out there and just tarnish people and say all kind of things to make people outside there who more, you know, make them more be deterred from the reality of things, if I have to say. But I'll tell you what, Mr. Guy, my government has been productive, and I think in the history of St. Lucia when it comes to government, apart from Sir John, because we had come from under the water and to try and service. But I'm saying this time around there, 2016, up to now, this government has produced over 20 years of work of past government.
Amen.
I'm being honest and straight with you.
You know that. I've said it before.
You know me, Champagne, and you know who I am.
I know.
And I'm telling you, brother, I'm telling you, COVID comes along, it's not just St. Lucia, it's the world. The world is slow. The world is slow. Yet still, our people here are behaving like we want normal life, and the discipline is so bad. That is what causing us to be where we are there right now as we speak.
You're right.
Okay? But I'm telling you, this government has delivered. Tout vieux truck pour moun qui pa comprendre anglais. Tout vieux truck qui ta tout ko pays ya. Ha levé. Tout truck l'Angleterre ha descend ici because gouvernement ni prospect. Gouvernement c'est pied mago a. Et qu'il y a chay mago a dedans. A lot of mangoes. So tout moun ka voy wash pied mago sa la right now. I don't know if you understand my scope of thinking, but because we have a lot of mangoes, that's why everybody is sending stones in our tree. Okay?
Right.
So when you hear these people talking around, let me tell you something. You know, roads I saw built, when I saw Fresh Start build that road in Tuapito where the cemetery is down there, that wall down there, brother, that is, I have been lamenting that soul. I don't know where the media people and the news people on the island is. I don't know if they're playing their part. But that wall should have been earmarked to give a sample of local St. Lucian contractors. And where the government get the most blessings is because most of all the work is being done on the country is because of local people who are the ones who doing this work.
Definitely.
Right? Let me show you something. Let me just highlight a little something to you. Labour Party come and they build 2 bridges, cost how many $1 million? One in Bradwash, one in Rodney Bay there. Okay? The fallen bridge.
Yeah.
Now, this government come and building the road to utilize the bridge, the fallen they build, they said they build. Now the government is building that road, spending that piece of money to make Rodney Bay look a world-class place.
Yeah, to elevate the
now you come in and talk magie about the government spending money and putting money in the projects instead of all the stupidness. You don't see these fellas have no kind of how you call that?
Vision,
and they don't feel for St. Lucians.
Oh yeah.
They have no feelings for St. Lucians. They don't need there for their own egos. Mr. Guy, let me show you something. In the history of St. Lucia, St. Lucian that's the only prime minister after a hurricane. Bananas gone down 8 days after. Under people farm he bought all the fertilizer from fair trade and give it to the farmers free of charge. 8 days, come sit on your hand, Let we go again. This government has come around, okay? This prime minister has come. He has gone tooth and nail to see St. Lucians moving, working, taxi, plane, everything is coming. The amount of people who have been flying into St. Lucia before COVID, the total we had, if it wasn't for COVID today, you think Labour Party was no around to talk about anything?
That's for sure, Paula. That's for sure. I'll give you one more minute to go.
The Minister of Agriculture, who has gone so far doing things, so far, what's the water project in the Denver North? You understand? I bet if it was the Labour Party who had won election and it was Flabo who had started it, they would have stopped this damn project. They would have stopped it. But the government continued to give the people. It's not about Flabo and Labour. It's about the people the government is focusing.
Exactly.
Okay? The government is teaching the people how to work to continue feeding yourself. We're not relying on the government to give us money. You understand what I'm saying? The government is giving people work to feed themselves. That is what the government is all about. Champagne.
Yes, sir.
Next Monday, I want the whole program after the Mr.
All right, well,
I come into you.
okay, beautiful.
I have my book open.
Okay, my friend. Have a good night.
Night, hopefully, wait.
Okay, beautiful. Hello, good evening. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for holding.
Okay, yes. Good evening, Champagne. Good evening, Mr. Minister.
Good evening.
Yeah, I just like to ask a question. I hope the minister will be able to. In the beginning of the term of office, when the audit was first announced, I remember the minister said that there would have been some kind of accountability insofar as the money spent and whatever. So now that I've heard tonight, the audit is complete and everything. Are the taxpayers going to finally see some kind of accountability? Somebody going to be made accountable, made to pay for some of the wastage, obvious wastage that has, because it has been demonstrated through a number of photos, a number of things that buildings were shoddy and all that kind of thing. So I know the former Prime Minister had threatened the whirlwind. So I don't know if you're covered under that. So I just want to get a response insofar as that, and I'll listen.
I think that's a very fair question. So the initial audit that was done was more of a technical audit in nature. And so there were two other things that needed. You needed the forensic audit also to be able to make it suitable for court, so that it could be presented as evidence. And I know the forensic audit for the St. Jude project and the minister's account. I know that a company was contracted to do the financial aspect of it, because what was done in the case of St. Jude was technical, but the financial is to be able to trace where the monies went, how it was spent, whether it was properly spent. And that is what is needed. And as far as I know, things are afoot to deal with the minister's account and the use of the money. And then they were still, that is why it was highlighted that a lot of information on St. Jude cannot be found, because it was not done through the proper channels of government. It was done through individual private email, and then it's becoming problematic. But that work is ongoing as we speak.
All right. Thanks for holding, caller. Good evening.
Good night, Champagne.
Good night, sir.
And good night, Mr. Minister.
Good night.
Mr. Minister, I expect from tomorrow, after listening to the Prime Minister's address to the nation, that he'll get a lot of criticism for prayers, because he did a very interesting and very dynamic, and I want to compliment him on that prayer that he gave before he gave.
Why do you think he'll going to be criticized for prayers?
Well, they will do that because the Labour Party and their supporters criticize even the priests.
Well, you see, you can't mix God and the devil.
Yeah.
So,
right. Anyway,
if you're on the side of God, you cannot be on the side of the devil.
Yeah.
And if you're on the side of the devil, you cannot be on the side of God. And no matter how bad somebody is, I don't think anybody should be against prayer. And if there's anybody against prayer, and anybody would criticize prayers, more so by a prime minister, let me tell you, that is the greatest level of humility and acknowledgement by an individual in an esteemed position as prime minister, to humble himself and to call upon a power that is greater than him. Now, not no spirit of anybody he called upon. He called upon God, the God who is the creator of heaven and earth. Not any foul spirit he called upon. I think that is the greatest level of humility and acknowledgement that he can show, that he understands his limitations as a man. And if anybody is thinking right and not led by the devil, they will not criticize prayers.
Yes. And I admire him, and he did a fantastic job tonight by addressing the nation. But let me move on. I don't want to take too much of your caller's time. Mr. Minister,
so you're not my caller?
No, I know, but I would like more callers into your program. You gave a fantastic amount of equipment of information tonight. Information that I didn't know, and I'm sure a lot of callers didn't know about that letter that you read out there. And I wonder what the conductor and the choir boys and bellboys of the Labour Party are saying tonight with regards to the question that they've been singing for a long time, friends, family, and foreigners. That amount of land that was given and the amount of taxes that were given out there, that information need to be repeated because it's unbelievable. I believe there's more information to come.
Have you all not learned the Labour Party? Everything the Labour Party does, and they know you will find them out. They go ahead of you and they start saying things about you. So when they cannot dispute the facts, so what they do is they attack the persons. So they go after the individual. They go after your reputation, your character. They try to paint you in the worst way. That's what they did to Richard Frederick for all of the years. Today, look at them and Richard Frederick. They're singing from the same hymn book. All of a sudden, Mondesi and the Labour Party. They have the worst.
Boys.
Exactly. Now, there are men. You see, they have boys and they have men. In the United Workers' Party, we have men who can stand. Men who cannot be bought or sold. We don't have a price. Nobody can buy us. Those who could be bought, they have already been bought. Those who could be sold, they are sold already. Those who are there are standing firm, and the Labour Party cannot deal with that. So what you will find they will do is try to attack you in every way. And I've said to them, y'all accuse me every day of stealing. Yet still y'all can show $5 missing from my watching government. And I can show you every project they implemented. Kenny Anthony built a security hut at his home, which had a cost overrun of over $10,000. A little plywood house for the security to stay in. Started at $35,000. It ended up at more than $45,000. They invented cost overruns. They created cost overruns in St. Lucia. But yet still, because they call everybody else a thief, because they tell you everybody else is corrupt, so that the attention is removed from them and people place it. But I say to people, it's simple. If a man lie to you once, twice, three, how many times they have to promise you things? My wife has a way of putting it. If you fool me once, if you fool me once, shame on me.
Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you.
Yeah, shame on you.
Like
so that. Yes, so it goes something like that. But at the end of the day, we need to come to terms with the reality that people cannot give what they don't have. The Labour Party, the Labour Party cannot govern. That's the bottom line. Every time they have tried at governance, they have failed. So how many times they have to fail for you to understand that they cannot do it?
No, but this is worth hearing again, Mr. Minister, because this is serious. For months and years, we're hearing about how much the United Workers' Party government, or this government, has given out to foreigners. And this has been echoed, and everybody have it saying that this family, foreign and friends. What do they have to say about this information? That is, I'm hoping that any right-thinking St. Lucian would now have to put the question to Philip J. Pierre, because he's the conductor now of the choir about friends, family, and foreigners.
But how many million acres of St. Lucia's seabed they rented out?
That is right.
How much rent have we collected? I mean, for anybody to think that you can really have a legitimate discussion with the Labour Party, you sell everything you've done has been against St. Lucia. Every project that they did, they brought in Lagan, they brought in CCI, they brought in Gadakan, you name it. Every major project that happened under the watch of the Labour Party was done by a foreign contractor.
And we must remember that they took the Prime Minister to court for $30,000. They took Sir John to court.
And the drain is still down there in Shantytown.
And it's a mess. So anyway, Mr. Minister, I am happy you brought this information out. I suspect there's a lot more to come. And I think that this information should be echoed. It should be repeated for those who didn't hear it tonight to hear it again some other time, because it's unbelievable that Dr. Kenny Anthony, Philip J. Pierre, his second in command, and the other choir boy would keep on talking about foreigners when they were going to give away so much of St. Lucia, tax free, everything free. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, thanks a lot, Colin.
To add on what they call, it's amazing that people would do all of these things. I mean, they accuse us of dishonesty, of corruption in government. How could a man end up with a vehicle that belongs, registered in the name of the government, what papers was given at customs? Today the vehicle has been taken by customs, and all of it. Can you imagine if it was a Flambeau person that was involved in that?
Thanks for holding, caller. Good evening.
When Richard was taken to task for his vehicles, and they went and put the seals in his vehicle, he don't have nothing to say about that today.
No.
He's with the same Labour Party today.
Yeah.
And then they want to sing a different song about us. We are open.
Caller, turn on your radio. Good evening. Hello?
Hello?
Good evening, sir.
Hello?
Good evening. We can hear you. Yeah.
Hello?
Go ahead, sir. Don't listen to your device.
Hello,
Listen to us. Yeah, just speak with us. We hear.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead.
Hello? Good evening, Mr. Minister. Good evening, Champagne.
Good evening,
Good
sir.
evening.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Pa koute radio ek TV ya, just koute phone na ek pale, nou katan nou.
Okay. Good. Yeah, what I have to say here tonight is that there is a difference between the United Workers' Party and the St. Lucia Labour Party. That the difference is the St. Lucia Labour Party, all they are good for is talk, and noise, and the United Workers' Party, they work. And I want to commend the minister on the work that is taking place in St. Lucia today. Continue with doing your work and ignore the talking and the noises of the St. Lucia Labour Party. You have a mandate to govern, and that is what your job is, to govern. And at the end of your term, the people will decide whether they want to work for government that produces, or they want to work with a government or a party that just talks and rumbles and makes noises. So, Mr. Minister, my advice to you is that you're doing a very good job. Continue the work and progress. That is what we're going to.
Thank you very much, caller. Just allow me to say that before you hang
I've
up.
always been told.
Yeah, allow me to say.
When there is a job to do, someone must do it. And the United Workers' Party is doing the job that has to be done.
Okay, caller, allow the minister to say something to you.
I just wanted to say to you, it's not just, you are so right about the Labour Party is just a party of talkers. Imagine the Labour Party had over $60 million approved by the World Bank, 60 million US dollars, approved by the World Bank for projects, spent 5 years in government, and did less than 20 million EC dollars worth of work, in 5 years, under Dr. Kenny Anthony, because that was directly under his ministry. In less than 5 years, under my watch as minister, we have executed or committed over $50 million worth of works.
Wow.
And all went through the tender process.
Thanks for holding, caller. Good evening.
Mr. Minister, good evening.
Good evening.
Champagne, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Okay, Mr. Minister, you know what gets me upset sometimes? When people compare the UWP and the SLP.
Okay.
There is no comparison there, Mr. Minister. And it is high time that people stop comparing these two parties. It's true, both parties are from St. Lucia, but one cannot see the other at all, Mr. Minister. Because, Mr. Minister, tell me one project that the Labour Party has started and completed.
That's a good question, caller.
They have not completed anything, Mr. Minister. So therefore, I was listening to Mr. Sean Edward talking about the helipad. Okay, and he was saying why they could not put the helipad some part on the ground. This is so crazy.
So caller, just pause there a minute and hear me out on this.
Yes.
You see, because the Labour Party does not believe that St. Lucia can be a world-class country. So we can go to Martinique, we can go to the US, we can go to anywhere else, and a helicopter can land on the hospital with an elevator to take the people, because it's only emergency cases you usually get in coming through a helicopter. At the end of the day, you would oppose some, rather than embrace. Okay, you did not have the idea, but somebody had a better idea than you. Any progressive person would embrace a good idea and say, boy, you know, I didn't think of that, but I think that's a great idea for us to be able to use. Because look at the distance to travel between, let's say you have an emergency situation in Soufrière. You have a helipad by Anchasne in Soufrière. There are other places that you are going to develop that as time goes by, you'll be able to move people from one place to another. So that's why we say we are not thinking of today. We are thinking of 20 years, 30 years, 40 years from now. What is it that would be required? Would you have money to build a new hospital? But you can expect that from Sean, because Sean is under a lot of pressure, because FERA is creating waves in the valley. I am convinced that this seat is coming home to the United Workers' Party in this election with FERA. So I don't blame Sean. If I was in Sean's place, I would be very worried about a candidate as strong as FERA, a candidate who's so concerned and well connected with the people in the valley. So you would expect that Sean would say some things that is not his best thinking. When you're under pressure, brother man, you say anything you know.
That's true. That's true. Because, Mr. Minister, I am saying, if you land a helicopter at the front of a hospital where they have people in the wards, I mean, a right-thinking person would just say, okay, you know something? That is a good idea. Because I've been to La Mena in Martinique. Okay, and one time I was hospitalized in La Mena in Martinique. And to be honest with you, I see helicopters land on top of the hospital all the time. Okay, when they bring people. So, and I am saying, wow, this government is thinking right. This government is doing something good. Because in the first instance, Mr. Minister, they never had the vision, okay, not even to put a helipad. And it is so good, Mr. Guy, that you all, that government came in, our government came in, and had the foresight and the vision to just do something that is right. Okay? I was talking to a doctor once in a Vieux-Fort. I stopped by Savans Bay. I was eating some grilled fish there. And I know the doctor. And I wouldn't mention his name. Okay? And I told him, but doc, why the government, I pick up on it, why the government come and they mash up the 2 buildings at St. Jude's? And they were up to standard. The doctor tell me, let me tell you something. You see the buildings that they mash up, water was seeping in the wall. Water was seeping in the flooring of the building. And these 2 buildings had to go. I say, wow. And I say, well, doc, and all along, nobody not coming out straight and say the right thing. The doctor tell me, well, I cannot come out and say it, but I can tell it to you. And when you call the program, then you can say it. But I say to myself, what and why the Labour Party is making so much noise about St. Jude's? And they know for a fact that it was a monster. They could not finish it. And I telling you, Mr. Minister...
Well, you have 1 more minute there. We have 9 minutes in the program.
Okay, Champagne. Mr. Minister, I will tell you, had the United Workers' Party did not come in power, you see, all time, like now, with all the noise that they are making, and tell you St. Jude's was 80 and 90% complete. You see, up to now, they would have never...
St. Jude would, I agree with you 100%.
I agree with that as
they
well.
could not finish St. Jude.
Yeah, I agree.
They could not.
You know how many times they changed the roof on one of the buildings? 3 times.
Yeah.
And it is still sagging as we speak.
I don't know, but I think the people need to...
I mean, if you saw the place we started to use as the... there's a section we using for the laundry and the kitchen that was on the west wing, and the upstairs for the administrative part. When we started breaking the walls there, you know what we found? They had tiles in the building. They did not take out the old tiles. They put the casting over the tiles.
Oh my goodness.
Now, can you imagine that there are people down there in the building? So you know with a smooth tile that there's no way the concrete is binding.
No, it won't.
Further, there used to be some old urinals that was used, and it was using pipes. I actually have the pictures of it. You know what they did? They didn't take out all the old pipes from the wall. They just boxed it and they poured concrete around it with all the old pipes in there. So you know when these pipes rust and they decay over a period of time, it would just form a cavity within the concrete and cause it to weaken and collapse. I mean...
And it burst in it.
Yes, the problems that we... and St. Lucian's, let me tell you, it's one thing to be in politics. But to be in politics and to do the wrong thing and to justify doing the wrong thing, I think is really stretching it. And I don't want nobody to support me doing the wrong thing. If you are my friend and I'm doing the wrong thing, you ought to tell me, while I support you, you see what you're doing there? I don't agree with it, and it's not the right thing to do. But for the Labour Party to do that level of foolishness in risking people's life, and because you are a supporter of the Labour Party, you go in to come and say what they were doing was right, it cannot be right.
Cannot be right. All right, Connor.
Mr. Minister, one more thing. You know what made me happy, Mr. Minister? I saw my Prime Minister with his drill, okay, and helping to build, and you did not hold a drill. Anyway, thank you.
No, you didn't see me hold that drill, but I did mine also.
Thanks a lot, Connor. All right, have a good evening. All right, so we have 5 more minutes into the program. If you'd like to get a question in, 4560931 or 4850931. A beautiful evening to you. Hello. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Guy,
Yes,
how are you?
I'm doing all right.
Well, m'apprécie ton programme aussi avec Henri qui nous parlait.
C'est Mr. Harry?
Yes,
Ok, Mr. Harry, comment vous êtes là?
m'apprécie malon.
Ok, merci un peu.
Il y a une histoire Labour Party.
Ah.
Labour Party, ça casse les pas derrière tout seul.
Ok.
Labour Party, flambeau Kabil en l'air cahier. Labour Party Kabil en l'air sable.
All right.
Éducation yo, pas pour un qui bon. Tout ça yo ni à l'idée yo, pour mener le pays à descendre. Et puis, à dire yo pas bon. Mais moi, contrairement, on me pour se dire ici champagne.
Oui.
All right.
Extraction, toujours mettre bon Dieu devant en tout ce qui est fait.
Amen.
Dieu pour mettre bon Dieu devant, rien pas ça gênant.
Moi d'accord avec ça.
Et moi, je vous remercie pour le travail que vous avez fait par West là. Et moi, je vous dis, tout le gens par West Office, c'est qui dit c'est ichou. Et moi, je demande, jour après jour, vous demandez bon Dieu, force de courage, et vous sentez, vous êtes responsable, c'est vous responsable, et vous êtes sacrifié entièrement. Merci un peu.
Okay, Mr. Harry, bonsoir.
Merci un peu. That's Mr. Matthew George, better known as Harry, from the community of Wavin Poisson. Strong supporter over the years. These were the people who brought me around when I first came into the constituency.
Right,
He's an elderly gentleman, but I think what he said there is very profound. The Bible gives the parable of the man who built his house on the sand and the man who built his house on the rock.
Bonsoir, Mr. Harry. All right. Okay, bye-bye.
And in the parable that the Bible uses, the man who built his house on the sand, it could not stand the storm. But the one who built on the rock, no matter how strong the wind blew, it was able to withstand. And he's right. That is the difference. The Labour Party builds on the sand. We build on the rock. And that is why the economy has been able to be kept even in the midst of COVID.
Okay, caller, thanks for holding. Good evening.
Yes, jump in.
Oui.
Good night.
Good night, boss guy.
Good night.
Tom Chu.
Hey, Tom Chu, Saudi Abanda.
Saudi boss.
Hey, ça passe en convoi ou comme ça? Parlez pas nous.
We just had the guy is absolutely right. Lady Sean and my process when you follow say imagine.
Oui.
Because of depuis septembre l'année passée.
Qui est là? Black?
Black, lui-même.
Ok.
Depuis septembre l'année passée, il m'a pris le monde qu'on a besoin de bien. Ici, je suis passé mon là. Donc, les frères à monter là, pour regarder ça. Ou un régime extérieur, fait canal, bah, c'est mon là. Donc, les Italiens, ils montent là, ils disent c'est mon là, ils disent c'est mon là. Et mon là, ici, nous avons balayé, nous avons dit là.
Black, let me ask you. That road going up to the cemetery, that's Austin Hill.
No.
Chimè yo te ka bil la, ek yo skip chaque côté se flambeau a ka wete, ek yo fe, ki non chimè ça?
Ça va Montego Bay?
Huh?
Like Austin Hill.
Like, all right, now, I've never seen that before in my life. You building a road, because a flambeau lives there, you skip that piece of road and you go and build a piece of road in front of the Labour Party person. But the Labour Party person still have to pass on the piece that you left in front of the... I mean, that's why Labour Party always accuse people of victimization, because that is how they operate. Si you can network canal, kote flambeau akawete, you can skip fly. C'est pour ça danger, oui. C'est bouglé par ça.
Je peux même pas la vie pour nous.
Black, ça me dit là, pas vrai, pas quand il était en chimère.
Belgique tout nouveau.
OK. All right.
OK, Black.
All right, Chief.
OK, Nia, bonsoir.
Yeah, but I am convinced that Farah is a very, very strong candidate. I think she has a vision for the constituency, and that is a person with a passion for what she does. I mean, even today we were in a meeting, and I can tell you, she knows the constituency. She wants what is best for the people of the constituency. Yeah. It's not about her, it's about what the community needs. And I really appreciate the quality that she brings to the table as a candidate, along with Mr. London. Let me tell you. I mean, Champagne, I sent you a message. Oh, yes. I wanted to call the day Mr. Vincent London was here just to congratulate him. Brilliant guy. That's like a breath of fresh air for Vieux-Fort. This is a young man with a vision, a drive to make his community better. And you know why I can identify with that? Because that's how I came into the political arena. Yeah. I came into the arena with the intention of doing better for the people, of being able... I heard the Labour Party talk about putting the people first. Yeah. All of 15 years in government, now you want to put people first. So what were you doing all the time before? Putting yourself first. And even in saying they put in the people first, I know they still have not put them first, because you look at their behavior with COVID, and tomorrow I will deal with that in Parliament. Champagne, I need to get some rest, because I know we have a long day in Parliament tomorrow. All right. Well, but I want to appeal to the people of St. Lucia. We are nearing the time when the politics will heat up. You will hear a lot of things from the Labour Party. You will hear a lot of things from the United Workers' Party. Measure everything. Evaluate for yourself. Check out the information. There are ways to verify who is speaking the truth. I brought up many issues tonight. I want to be challenged on what I brought up. I want people to know this Prime Minister, you see the balance he has found between the economy and the health of the nation. It's a good balance. And tomorrow in Parliament, we will be ready. If the Labour Party want to go whole night, we go in whole night. If they think they're going to stall the process, we are ready to do what is best for St. Lucia. I want to appeal to my people. Continue to wear your mask, social distance, avoid socializing presently as much as possible until we get the vaccine and we have this thing under control. Yes. Keep yourself safe and keep your family safe. Yes. And good night to one and all. All right, thank you, Mr. Minister. And our apologies on all of the text messages that kept coming on our WhatsApp. I will not be able to read the questions to the minister. Like he said, he has to go and get some rest, get ready for Parliament tomorrow. We were supposed to be doing some clippings for you to see the work that have been going on in Castries office under St. Lucia by extension, but that will have to wait until next Monday. So, St. Lucia, we want to say thank you very much for tuning in once again into the program Inside Castries Office with the Honorable Guy Joseph. Don't forget, tomorrow morning I'm going to be back here with the program Champagne in the morning, but before that, yours truly, Brother Norbert Williams, will be here with the Keeping It Real radio edition from 6 o'clock. And then in the evening, he's going to be there on television, Keeping It Real on channel 117 Hot TV. Ring the bell, and Dr. Secret is our other guys we have on Wednesday. Sir Michael Shastry, along with Mr. Peter Josie, we have a packed house for you, St. Lucia, to bring you the information that is truthful, the ones you want to listen to. Always remember, say a prayer to the great God above and thank Him for bringing you out through today and into tomorrow. Until that, St. Lucia, we're going to go into the BBC. We want you to have a good night's rest, and we love you from Sky FM. Have a good evening.
Posts are under threat at Euronews.